Hey, welcome to another episode of the Dan Lok Show. Today, I am very, very happy. I have a good friend of mine joining me now. He is the co-founder and CEO of 10x5. We're going to talk a little bit about where that brand came from. What's the story behind it? A company that serves as the growth engine for many rapidly scaling companies today. John, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, my good friend.
John, talk to us a little bit about how did the name came about and what's the story behind 10x5?
Well, I'd love to say I had an epiphany and the name just came to me, but it took a lot of hard thinking. And then after that, it did come to us in a meeting. And so a little bit about our history that will provide some context. My co-founder, Alan Young, consummate entrepreneur, has built several successful companies across 160 territories. He had managed, working with the marketing teams, to grow one of those brands significantly by 10x, literally over 1,000% in the span of 5 years. So we had that as a backdrop. Upon some additional research, I learned that roughly 5% of entrepreneurs and business owners have what we would call a 10x mindset, a 10x growth to their business, where they would say, forget budget, forget the traditional thinking around marketing. If you can build leads and drive them to fit our model, it's limitless. We want to scale. We're not looking to grow 10% a year. We're looking to really get after it. So for us, it's an aspiration that we look for in the mindset of those that we work with. That approach to the business, it's one that we share. And so that's where it just hit us one day in a meeting, actually with Jack Daly. Jack was in town and we were meeting with him. He was coaching us at the time, and we said 10x5 it is.
So 10x5 really is helping companies who have that kind of vision, who want to grow their companies by 10 times in 5 years, right? Is someone who just want to grow by, well, I'm happy with 5-10% growth. That's not who you guys work with, right?
5-10% would not be. Now, not every company, based on where they are from an evolution standpoint, based on their model, is able to literally 10x, but it's that approach that we look for in the mindset of the owner, business owner.
And from your perspective, because I know you very well, like shifting from corporate to entrepreneurship, like what advice would you have for people listening, my audience, that maybe they're working in a corporate job right now, or maybe they've been even middle management, they've been there for a long time, shifting from that to entrepreneurship, what would you say to them?
Absolutely. There are a lot of things I could say to them, but yeah, so my history, whereas my partner has been an entrepreneur most of his life.
Yes.
I would say want to be entrepreneur for a good bit of my life, but I was held back by the golden handcuffs in the corporate world and wouldn't trade those experiences for anything. I take a lot of the learnings I derived from leading large sales and marketing teams over the years. However, I always had that feeling that one day I'm going to break out. And once the opportunity came my way to partner with Alan, it just made sense. And for me, some of the biggest pieces that have helped, one, I positioned myself from a financial standpoint that I could take that risk and really go on a very low income early on. I wasn't reliant on that. I also had a spouse that was very supportive of taking that risk. I look out at the landscape, I'm involved in entrepreneurs organization, EO, and others. What I see in business owners that have stepped out from the corporate world, oftentimes they're either taking a calculated risk in which they see another model in the marketplace that they say, hey, I can, R&D, rip off and duplicate. I can take that as my cornerstone and build off of that, or I can come at it from a true need base that I see in the market that's not just speculative, but I've done my research, done my homework,
right.
I feel comfortable taking that risk. So I'd say, it's sexy to take that step out, but the due diligence behind it makes the difference to whether or not it's success.
So it wasn't even like a just last minute thought, like you've been thinking about it for a long time, you've been planning. So when you transition, you're ready.
Yeah, I subscribe to the theory, some advice I was given a long time ago, activity breeds activity. So I had taken the step to put myself out there, was meeting with private equity firms around the Atlanta area where we're based, really trying to figure out where's my niche in the market. Is there a portfolio company that makes sense for me to step into and help run? And that's where was put in contact with Alan through a mutual contact, and it just made sense from both ends.
Yes. What do you see is the opportunities in the marketplace now, and how do you help companies to help them scale?
Yeah, so we have a number of different levers we pull. What I see out there from a marketing standpoint, I see a sea of sameness. I see quite a few marketing firms that are all saying we're a little bit better. We do things a little bit differently. We've got our strategies.
Sure.
I truly believe that our strategies are better, and that's why we subscribe to them. We've done a lot of research, a lot of testing. However, going back to our history once more, we were created out of need. Alan, again, had started several businesses. He was working with marketing providers out there, whether it's a creative team or a digital team, traditional media team, call centers. And every 6 months, he was jumping from firm to firm. And when he looked around at other business owners, they were doing the same, hoping, this next silver bullet that's been promised will bring the leads in that we need. And so in his infinite wisdom, he said, let's insource these teams. In some cases, bring in consultants from the outside. I think in digital marketing, we spent $200,000 or $300,000 to really train the team up in best-in-class optimization, conversion practices, so that we could do it the right way. And then when we spun off of our parent company, it made a lot of sense to be able to help other businesses. And so all that to say, what I see out there today is a lot of the sameness. And one thing that we bring to bear, we see a lot of leads being generated that don't get followed up on, they fall through the cracks, or they're not provided with a great experience. They're at the end of the funnel. So that's why we have an inbound, outbound sales center, call center attached to our marketing, where we can make the phone ring and we can answer it. We can provide that consistent brand experience that really helps reduce the cost of acquisition, because you're carrying it all the way through, teeing up client sales teams for those sales appointments. So I would say that's one big thing. One other thing I would touch on is LinkedIn. There's a lot of content out there, a lot of people starting to put their toe in the water, but no one has really come out and said, here's the best way to go about it. Our strategies entail automating a good bit of it, and really it's a numbers game. And so it's generating impressions of profiles, knowing that 8 to 9% of those that you view will come back and view your profile. And then 25% of those will in turn go to your website. It's creating, generating a number of connections in your target market every single day, and then following up once they connect with great content. Right. And so it's a numbers game, but it takes dedication day after day after day. And unless you have a plan to do that, then you're not going to reap the benefits.
Makes sense. And John, for my audience, John has taken his team, come and spend actually a day with us up in Vancouver. And it's interesting. The first time my team and John's team, when we met, we found that also they have a great culture. So there's something I want him to share with you as well. So John, share with us about how first of all, why culture is important to your team, and how do you create the culture of a high performance team?
Yeah, well, people much wiser than me have said culture eats strategy for lunch. I think there's a lot of truth to that. Culture defines the talent that you're able to attract, the talent that you're able to retain. For us, from our very beginning, we said there are 5 core values that we subscribe to. There's a lot of meaning behind each one, but those are think big and act fast, act as one team, lead with stewardship, exceed expectations, and be an entrepreneur. And so we tie everything back to that in our team meetings, in our employee recognition, and the examples that we point out of successes or failures internally. We celebrate those in a very big way.
Yes.
But speaking of celebration, that's something that we are really working towards. I feel a culture is never complete. And so I would say we have a good culture, but we want to have a great culture. And we're moving in that direction. And one big learning I had, and it was a failure on my part recently, about 9 months ago, I was sitting in a leadership meeting, and someone on the team said, we need to have more fun. We attract a young workforce. We do some fun activities, but we need to really get after the fun side.
Yeah.
I said, that makes sense to me, but I've got enough going on. I'm going to outsource that. Let's name someone else to that. And so we developed a Queen of Fun, and she organized games and activities. And I woke up one morning and realized it's become summer camp here. We're celebrating Taco Tuesday, National Grilled Cheese Day, things that are fun, but the celebrations I want are celebrating wins. I want a performance-driven culture, and that's something that I realized I've outsourced our culture. I've got to bring this back in and build this into the company that I want it to be, that will attract the people that I want. So we've been very fortunate to bring in just talent from the market that I wake up some mornings and say, how did I attract them to join us? And ultimately what they're buying into our culture, they're buying into the vision. They understand that this is not a tops-down company. They get to have a hand in building that culture and defining it, having a say. So it's so important that we bring the right people on because they do have a big hand in molding it.
It's very true, because it's not just about, we want to have fun. Of course, we love what we do, but we want people to also have pride, right? They get the satisfaction and joy from doing good work, from producing results, feeling that, hey, I own this, right? I'm proud that we've accomplished these milestones, versus just having fun, but then that doesn't always equal productivity, right? And I love the 5 core values. And what John is talking about, what I also agree, like my company has 5 core values as well, right? That's a good starting point. And we're not just talking about core values, meaning, oh, hey, yeah, a lot of companies have core values, but they don't live it. They don't actually live it. It's just something that they say, something on a piece of paper that no one looks at. No, do you actually embody those core values? Do you hire people based on those core values, right? I mean, it's so critical to do that, right? So, John, so let's say we have the culture, we have the value. How do you go about attracting good talents?
Yeah, and before I touch on the talent, I do want to say that day we spent in Vancouver and the many conversations that your team and our team have been involved in, Dan, one of the main takeaways and one of the best learnings that we have from your team was just seeing how close knit they were, and you could tell you've built something really special on your end, and it's a family environment, but it's a family environment around performance as well, because I believe companies should not be a family in the traditional sense, but it's a sports team, if you will. You're on the same team.
Yes.
And there are a lot of analogies I can draw to that, but I did want to touch on that because we had a lot of takeaways, and we're so impressed by what you built and the culture that you have there at the Dan Lok team. So,
I appreciate it.
Question of talent, which again, I would turn the question around on you, Dan. You have hired a first-class team. On our end, I've gone out and said, hey, I know what attracted me, and I've used that same approach with the other talent. Many of them have come from larger companies.
Yes.
And I've said, hey, here's potentially a little bit of equity. You can have skin in the game. Here's where we're going. Here's our 3-year plan. Here's our 5-year plan. We're absolutely going to get there. There's a lot of strategies we can take to get there. I need you to come alongside me and help me prioritize which of those strategies at which time. And you know what? We'll make pivots along the way. We're going to learn. We're going to fail fast. But ultimately, we're going to really drive some great business for our clients. I mean, that's what it's all comes down to.
And I like that because you could see, because I know that, and I know I met Doug and Christina. I met a number of your team, like key players on your team. And I know a lot of them, they kind of gave up the security, right? The jobs, and to do this, with you, more entrepreneurial. And it's a big jump for a lot of people, right? That they have to sacrifice or give up something to do this. And in order to do that, they must see the vision, right? They must buy into the vision. Because if they don't do anything, they'll still keep what they have. They must believe that, hey, this is big enough that maybe, I make a little bit less money. I got to do more work. But in the long run, they see the vision. If we win, then it's going to be a win for everybody, right?
We're not breathing down your neck here. You get a lot of freedom. You get to make decisions. You get to be involved in meetings you would not be in the larger companies. And, attracting is one thing, retaining is another thing. And in a tight market like we have right now here in the U.S., it is a constant battle that's constantly on my mind. How do we retain our top talent as key players, make sure that they're incentivized, make sure they're getting the coaching and the development ongoing to become better at what they do and better at who they are. And we had a great example. We had a gentleman last week, a younger guy on our team that had received an offer from Home Depot, unsolicited. They brought him in for one interview. They gave him an offer making 40-50% more than what he was offered here. And I counseled him and said, seriously consider that. That's real money. You're saving up, paying off college loans. Sounds like a great opportunity. We'd love to have you if you decide to stay here. You have a bright future. Next day, he turned it down, and he's still with us. And that's encouraging to me, because oftentimes I feel am I doing, the job that I need to be doing? As an entrepreneur, as a company leader, you always have those second guesses in your head, and any little validation like that is an encouragement.
John, what are some of the mistakes that you have made as a leader that you've learned from that have served you well, some of those lessons?
Yeah, perfect example. Well, the culture one that I've cited already, I would say another one, we had a client, every now and then we'll take a small equity interest in a client.
Yes.
I had one recently in which we took a fairly sizable interest in them. And so as a result, our team became emotionally attached, and they felt like it was part, and you want that alignment, but there's also a point when you need to recognize we've got some sunk costs and we've got to let go of those. And in that case, we hadn't reached profitability. It was a startup after 6 months, and I should have made the call after 3 months. There were glimmers of hope that kept us going, but I think I let the team lead me in that situation a little more than leading the team. And I take a lot of valuable lessons coming out of that as to how we approach it.
So alignment, but not attachment, right?
Well said. Very well said.
I see. So because sometimes I think as a leader, naturally, I think the team wants to make it work. And then we've had this incident as well. As leader, we are optimistic. As, hey, let's make it happen, man. Let's do whatever it takes. But sometimes, as a good leader, as a great leader, you have to kind of look at the situation and dissect. You know what? Sometimes you might need to say no to certain things, right? You know, to say yes to other things, right? You might have to let go of certain things, right? Let go of certain opportunities. And that's, I think, the character of being a good leader, which is not easy. It's not easy because as a leader, we always believe we can do anything. We can make it work, right? We want to make it work.
I recently shared with the team that companies at our stage of growth, several million in, we're in teenager mode, and we're still experimental. We date around. You try different types of clients, figuring out where's that best niche. But in the same way of dating, you also have to understand, those sunk costs are times when it's a little experimental and you try new things, and that's part of the entrepreneur's journey. And I'm very open with the team and sharing. This is the first time I've raised a teenager, if you will, and so I try to surround myself with other business owners through different organizations and networks to learn from others that have raised teenagers, if you will. Successfully. So I believe strongly. I would add that to my points earlier about, if you're going out on your own and building a business, surround yourself with smarter people, not only on your team, but in your community of fellow business owners.
Yes. Speaking of which, I know you are a member of EO, Entrepreneur Organization, and talk to us a little bit about that and how maybe that has helped you in your career as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about my experience. Entrepreneurs Organization, originally started by Bern Harnish, worldwide organization with chapters throughout. I joined a little over a year and a half ago. I joined the Atlanta chapter. We have 150 plus business owners, and everyone is doing at least $1 million in annual revenue. And you've got a cross section of industries, it's different size companies. And one of the most, outside of the valuable content that is brought in and the speakers, probably the most impactful thing for me has been the forum experience. And so this is a group of 6 to 7 others that we will meet together every month, and then we'll take an annual retreat together. But every month we spend 5 hours in a very structured session, down to the minute, and we are digging into each other's businesses. We're asking questions. We're looking for blind shots in spots, and we're sharing our experiences. That's a big key, that we're not telling someone else what to do, but we're sharing our own experiences. And it serves really as a board of advisors, serves as accountability, and it is just, I would highly recommend it for anyone in a similar situation. I can't say enough good things about my experience and what it's meant to me.
And I think I'm such a big proponent of having mentors and being in some sort of mastermind group where you'll hang around with entrepreneurs. Because the challenge is, as an entrepreneur, when you have a problem, you don't have anyone to talk to, right?
It's lonely.
It's very lonely. And sometimes when you have a challenge, and you may not want to go to your team, right? You kind of have, you need that distance, you need that thinking time, you need to bounce ideas off with someone with more experience or have made the same mistake, right? I noticed let's say in YPO, that it's the same form of experience, that when I share something, did that, made that mistake 10 years ago, right? There's a lot of this, right? It's like, what do you mean you made that mistake 10 years ago? Yeah, I did that already. Don't do this. I do that. And
it keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
On the flip side, it's also great to have others that understand where you are and can celebrate those successes and those milestones. When you get the applause of fellow business owners, it means more than just getting the applause from my 8-year-old and 3-year-old at home. It means a little more.
Yes, and sometimes like the success that we experience as an entrepreneur that most people would not get, right? When you're talking about, hey, we're getting a 2.5 return on our ad spend and our landing page converting now, at 10% more, you don't do that in a family dinner.
Yeah,
it's like what the hell are you talking about?
Well, in those perspectives, we actually had our forum this week, and in that meeting, I did a presentation and took the time to say, here's I've got a new business development vice president, Megan, who's awesome. She's raised some very good questions about, we can do X, Y, and Z. Which one do we lead with in that conversation? Really getting down to the detail of, and the feedback I received, what's causing your prospective clients to lean in? What are they asking follow-up questions about? And getting their perspective from the other side of people, because while we don't solicit within EO, that is the type of group that we are working with.
Yeah, I love it. And one more thing is, what would you tell a 25-year-old John, like a younger self, if you were to have a 5-10 minute conversations, if you could go back, what would you tell John?
I get an opportunity to tell quite a few. I feel like I'm talking to myself at times, 25-year-olds that I mentor. And the advice I give them is don't put so much pressure on yourself. You never know what you'll be doing down the road. I turned 40 this year. And when I think back to 15 years ago, I had just left Accenture, was in consulting, and was raising up a call center over in India. Never thought I'd be doing that back when I was at the University of Georgia. Now, I will say I hope to be in the role that I'm in now. But the path that I took to get there is one that was very unpredictable. It really came back to, activity breeds activity. Put yourself out there, say yes more than you say no.
Yes.
I believe in a higher power and believe there's some meaning behind the paths that we choose. And ultimately, you can't write. I heard a great quote the other day. I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes. But essentially, you know where you're heading. But there are a lot of paths that will take there. You just don't want to go too far off course. There are going to be pivots, there are going to be learnings, but know where that light at the end of the tunnel is.
I love it. John, if my audience, they want to find out more about what you do, they want to find out more about 10x5, what's the best way to do that? Absolutely.
So our website is 10x5.com. That's 10xfive.com. You can also reach me at John Austenson out there on LinkedIn. Would love to hear from everyone. John Austenson, that's JONOSTENSON. Great Norwegian name, confuses everyone. But would love to connect with any members that I can help in any way. Thank you, John. Thank you for being on the show. Awesome, and always awesome to talk to you and just hear how you build your team and how you build the culture. And depends on where you are. If you're listening to this, you may not get to that point yet, but once you have a sizable team, then you appreciate like what John is sharing about having that culture. Because what you do might change, the approach, the tactics will change, but you've got the right team with the right culture, you can move mountains. You want to have the people surrounding you that you want to go to battle with. Awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Dan. Enjoyed it.
Are rising ad costs slowly killing your business? What if there's a way for you to leverage the power of social media and grow your business without relying on pay ads? What if there's a way to scale your personal brand and multiply your profits without sacrificing your soul? This is Dan Lok. With over 8 million followers on social media, for the first time ever, I'm going to teach you how I have built a business empire using the SMART method. Click the link below to join us for the upcoming SMART Challenge.